Yeah.
They don't want
Okay. Get going?
Okay, you guys, new record set for the most amount of cash paid out today, $1,600.
over Ricky.
No, Ricky decided to be
Come on, Ricky.
Ricky's sharing the wealth. You guys can have it to find out what it is. Okay, all right. Marcos, $300.
Wow.
Good job. Paula, CNX, and something else. And those are five. Okay. Eduardo Plus, $200.
Nice.
Good job. 200 cash for a price of 200 and then 100. Okay, Rafa, $100. Thank you.
Nice.
Mitsubishi Mirage. Okay, James, $200. At Toyota Tundra, 2008, and somewhere else in here.
Nice job.
Anyway, good job. Yep. I'm so proud. Okay, Gloria, $200. Awesome, Gloria. Grand Cherokee Altima. Yep, good job. Okay, Tom, $100.
Nice.
Tom, that was on a Captiva, thank you. Okay, and the person trying to get the target on his back instead of Ricky, Eric, $500.
Wow.
So, an Optima, a Camry Hybrid, a Silverado, a Rogue, and a Yukon.
Nice job.
Cool.
What is that camera hybrid? Is that the one we expected?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, 100, that's not yours. Sorry.
What about 100?
Huh? The Camry Hybrid, Clint Curtis and Cindy Curtis.
Oh, yes, JD.
Sorry about that.
All right.
Okay, thank you, everyone. That's, wow, in the past 2 weeks, that's been a ton of these cars sold for me. So, okay. You want to talk about this one?
We got selected by the city of Orem to be the best of 2020 for Orem.
City of Orem, that's all of us.
We thought that we'd get some more of these made up so that we could have them at the dealerships. Should we get one for every desk? Would that look good? Just have us.
Like, would that make people somehow think like, oh, these guys are good?
Okay, so you're going to turn it into the city.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll get some of those made
So I'll
up.
look into it, yeah.
What is that? What is that for?
For us,
Best of Orem.
best of Orem business for 2020.
You know how they do like those polls, the surveys or whatever?
Well, I know, but, I mean, this is for dealers?
Used car.
Yeah, used automobile dealer.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, used car dealer. So we're the best used car dealer in Orem for the
That's a
city
big deal.
of 2020.
Hey, it's something.
And we collect a lot of tax revenue from them, so. I don't know. I don't know anything to do with it, but. Right.
Okay. Should we talk for just a second?
Yeah, let's
about
talk about those.
Did anyone solve the dots besides Eric? Eric solved the dots.
What's wrong with
I don't know. I actually think JD might have solved the dots too
I did
because
solve the
he
dots.
followed. So JD, can you
Four
tell us,
lines, and I did-
tell us real quick how you did it.
I just went 1,
Here, hold it up
2,
real
3.
quick.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So he did it. He followed the directions.
There's 4 lines.
He backtracked, but it never said don't backtrack. So I'd say he solved it. Okay, Eric, you want to show us how you solved it? You see how he did that?
You go all the way down, all the way out, out, and out.
So a lot of us limited our minds to thinking we had to stay inside that little square of the dots, but it also doesn't say that. You can go outside the square, and so that's also solved. So thinking differently.
And I was tricking you guys because I started doing those to captivate your minds so you would have to stay in there. So that was intentional. Sorry about that. But it's, I mean, when I first saw this puzzle, I was the same. I didn't look at it that way.
Yeah, you just assume you stay in, but if you look at it differently, it can be solved.
Okay, here's another thing that I want you guys to look at. This is not a magic trick. This ring doesn't break. Is it physically possible for this ring to come off here?
Yes.
Can you do it?
Oh,
I
wait.
played a lot with these.
Okay, so no, you don't look at it. Is it physically possible for this to come off here?
And like you said, it's not like there's a little hidden way to open this up or anything like that. You can pass it around if you want. Again, we got sanitizer for you.
I mean, it seems like.
James,
Yeah, James could break it.
I saw James got up and heavy yesterday.
Ahora, según se hace un dolor de castidad. Te devuelvo, pues.
Listen, if you're ever in like an old dungeon, you're gonna
Ya lo rompí ese brazo.
So, I mean, you can see when you're looking at it, it's like, dude, how's that ring gonna come off there? That's basically impossible unless there's some kind of magic trick, right? And that's what it looks like.
Like the shackle parts are bigger than the ring.
Yeah, so there is a way,
Tom might show us the way.
because
Well, not
it's,
to play around.
You have to figure it out. Yeah, a cutting torch, I'll get it like that. What's this kind of determination? While he's messing with that, how many of you were able to find the 3D image on one of the pages? A couple. Ricky's had practice. We don't have time to experiment with them. They're fantastic. They're amazing. Once you kind of get your eyes trained on how to see it differently, there is a whole new picture that is unreal. They're really frustrating until you can figure it out. I did this years ago with somebody and they got me out because they couldn't figure it out.
JD got it?
Yeah! So it can be done. JD's 2 for 2 on the thinking different.
Can you roll that on?
Putting it back on is actually harder.
Nice.
Back on. So
So,
you guys saw it through your eyes.
well, so what seems to be impossible because the ring is too small to fit over can actually be done here. Show them how easy it can be done. Oh, that's what we showed.
Yeah, I went past yesterday. See, I can go on. So what did all this have to do with anything? Besides being fun?
Show them. Have any of you guys seen a boulder levitate before? What does it look like? Is it 10 or 12 feet off the ground? Right before it hit the ground, you know, maybe a meteor coming from outer space or something like that? Any of you guys ever seen anything like that? Would it surprise you if I told you that this is an actual photograph and that it's not touched up? This is actually real. Would it make you start to think that maybe there is like some kind of magnets or, you know, the Mayan Indians have some kind of secret magic?
The resolution's low because I made it big for the slide, but it's like actually, it's a real photograph, it doesn't quite look like it.
So then take a look at this. Oh, wait a minute, now it starts to make sense. It's the same photo, just flipped upside down. So
So we can go back and forth, I was showing my son last night, the exact same picture.
So now when you stop and look at it, it's like, oh, this is water, this is reflection of the trees. Right here is the water, there's the dirt. And you just flip it upside down and now you can see, oh yeah, there's the dirt, there's the water being on the ground. Because gravity goes down, right? And then there's the boulder control on. Make sense? The way that we look at it completely changes the way we look. That's right.
That's what Tyler was doing. All right, I want to tell a story. For a minute, let's all, you don't have to really close your eyes, but in your mind's eye, in your imagination, imagine that you're laying by a pool. Relaxing, you've been out swimming in the sun, you ate a good lunch, everything's peaceful and relaxed in the world. And you're just laying there and you're starting to doze off into that peaceful kind of half sleep, where just you don't have a care in the world. And And all of a sudden, you feel some cold water in your arm, and you hear some splashing next to you. You're a little annoyed, but you kind of slip back into your relaxation. That keeps happening a couple more times, and you're starting to get like really agitated. You're like, this is like, it's such a rare moment in my life that I can feel this, just like relaxing and peace in this inconsiderate idiot in the pool. Maybe some kid or something, I don't know, is splashing you, and you start to like really get boiled up inside. And you're pretty much like, if I feel that again, I'm going to jump up and yell at somebody or tell them to get lost. Lo and behold, splashes again pretty hard this time over your face. You jump up and look and turn and you see somebody you really love and care about drowned in the pool, and they're fighting to stay above the water. They're splashing and flailing, trying to just get breath, and they're going under and coming back up. Are you still annoyed at that point? Are you still frustrated? What are now your thoughts? How are you viewing the situation? You're like probably ready to jump in the pool and get soaking wet in your clothes or whatever you're wearing to save them. You've got a completely different outlook. The situation didn't change. You still got disrupted out of your relaxation. You still got wet, whatever. But you see it totally differently because you have more information. You know the whole situation. You realize, well, that person wasn't trying to ruin my day. They were trying not to die. So, story to think about.
Sometimes when we're at the auction, we'll be standing there and we'll be like, dude, that's a freaking nice Hyundai Tucson. I wonder why it's so cheap. I'm going to bid on it. Oh, wait a minute. That's why it was so cheap. Same exact car from a different angle. Or you might walk into the lane and say, oh, dude, that's a sweet. It's a crew cab, Frontier.
Flags at the screen, it says 4-wheel drive, miles are good.
I'm like, dude, let's buy that. That thing's awesome. It's not quite as awesome as it was a second ago.
From a different angle.
So same car, different angle. So now when you look at the picture a little more carefully, it's like, oh wait, maybe this front corner is drop down a little bit. And when you look at the next picture, you can see why. And you run on the rim, right? So what we want to talk about today is, and there's multiple ways you can say this, is changing your perspective. Psychologists call it reframing. We got this book, the title of it is, When Changing Nothing Changes Everything. We want to talk about the amazing power that we have as humans to change our perspective and how changing our perspective can change everything. Does this make sense at all? A little bit?
It's kind of a weird concept, to be honest. And a lot of times, we may not even stop and think about the fact that we could even do this. But we can just, within our mind, change a lot of things.
So I was talking to Brandon about this yesterday and trying to teach it to him, and he was also kind of not getting it. Just wasn't understanding. So we started doing an example with his food. But this morning I thought we'd maybe do an example with this pen. So what do you see right here? And like, how impressed are you with this pen?
It's not really my thing,
Like on a scale of 1 to 10, like,
so. Not exactly.
Let's pretend it was a
Yeah, I
white.
love it.
Pretend it was a white pen, Tom.
oh god. Let's not go down that road.
I'll tell you my first impression.
Okay, hang on, let's hear it.
Here's one. I didn't know Clint was going to do this with the pen. Here's my first impression. I'm a pen snob. I keep my exact pen just said, oh, there it is.
Yeah, change
That's changed my pen. I see those free pens that have like branding logos, and I'm a snob. I scoff at them. I say those are German pens.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Now, would it surprise you to walk out in the parking lot and see something that hit this laying on the street? Would you like hungrily pick it up? You know, like if you saw one of those $100 bills on the street, you'd be like, shit, nice, right? But with this, you wouldn't even bother to pick it up. So the way I would think that most of us would see this is this is just not, right? This is a non-object. You know that 200 years ago, that we used to, they would write with a feather dipped in a pot of ink. But today, like when you take this thing apart and you start looking at this, like look at these little plastic parts. If you wanted to go home to your house and make something like this tonight, how much energy would it take you, Tom, to make this?
A lot.
Oh, freak. That'd
I
be,
don't think I could.
yeah, almost impossible to make.
3D printer, but this is.
This spring on there, so high tension spring that can retract and expand over and over again. The ink inside here, I don't know exactly how they do it, but it has some kind of capillary action. You'll notice this end is open, but the ink never runs back out, or rarely runs back out. It's in your pocket. And I don't know if you guys know this, but have you ever heard the word term ballpoint pen? What that means is there's a teeny little BB, like a little marble, in the front of that, and that's the ballpoint. And when you write, that ball spins, and as it spins, it picks up ink out of the inside of it and lays it on the paper. And it lays it down pretty smooth. This is a freaking technological masterpiece. The amount of energy that went into this for someone to cast this casing, build the machinery to cast this, come up with the composites. Like, do you know how to make plastic? Does anyone know how to make plastic? Petroleum based. To turn oil into this, it's freaking miraculous. So another way of looking at this same exact pen is, this is freaking a technological masterpiece that took thousands of hours of man hours to be able to make these. And now we've gotten so smart as a society that we can build them in mass, and it's just like a piece of garbage on the street. But when you stop and look at how much energy and time went into this, it's just literally astounding. Has the pen changed? Pen hasn't changed at all, right? But has your perspective about what the pen is and what it represents changed? Okay, that's what we're talking about today, is changing your perspective. And changing your perspective, changing the way that you look at things, can change everything. It changes the way that you feel about something inside, and the way that we feel about something inside, in turn, determines our actions, and our actions kind of determine our outcome of the world. Does that make sense at all?
But I might want to add, I think
Please.
it makes good sense, and I'm still exploring this idea of like, use the parts of it, but I don't feel like we're here to try to force a new perspective on you guys. We're just simply today going to talk about a technique that you can choose to use however you want in your lives, but particularly in the car business. But it'll be a tool at your disposal to use it the way you want. We don't have any hidden agenda to try to say, we need to have this perspective about this or this perspective about that. It's just a way to have a perspective that makes your life better. And so, it's actually really cool, a really cool concept.
Yeah, when I realized how powerful this was, it hit me just like an epiphany, just like this is like a secret to life. This is one of the secrets to life. And I was trying to ask myself, is there any situation when reframing or looking at things a different way can't change how we feel about things and can't change our perspective? I couldn't come up with any as we kind of experiment. I'd love to see if you guys do come up with some. Any way, any problem in life that can't be looked at differently and make us feel differently.
Great.
Okay.
What do you want to think about? I don't know if you want to go through it
Oh, I don't know.
right now.
Yeah, let's think about that.
Well, let's go through the meeting and be thinking about it, and then maybe see, like, is there any way, if you went through a horrible experience like that, that somehow reframing and looking at it different could change in some way how you feel about it?
And it's
Not necessarily make it seem like I'm glad this happened.
Yeah, but change the way that you look at it.
And cope with it.
Death of a loved one, cancer, all the horrible things that can happen, right? Okay, so what we thought we'd do next is talk about some specific strategies on how you can do that, and on how you can try to change your perspective, because this is a pretty hard concept. And then we want to practice it. Does that make sense? So we want to talk about some specific strategies, we want your guys' inputs, and then we want to practice. Fair? Okay, so here's some strategies. Ricky, you mind reading that one for us?
Gather more facts and more knowledge.
Okay. What could that mean if we wanted to change our perspective? And it was through gathering more facts or gathering knowledge. What could that mean? Anyone have any ideas? James?
Knowing yourself on what you're trying to perceive, but being better understanding the word.
Yeah. Did the analogy with the pen help at all? Did gathering more facts about what this was, change your perspective a little bit about how important and how cool something like this is. Think of some other circumstances where we could gather more facts and knowledge and could change.
Did you have something?
No, speaking about question.
Let's say that we're fighting, two lots are fighting over a customer, like this money that's got handed over here. Sometimes we see other people's actions in a certain way. We're like, they are trying to escape me, they're trying to steal my customer. And if we find more information, can it sometimes change our perspective? Any good examples of that, when something like that's happened?
I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of one about that you're talking about, but my example about the pool was kind of getting more information. Like, when you jump up mad and look and see that it's not just some inconsiderate person, you all of a sudden get more information. And it does change how you see the situation. I have to think for a minute on like car deals back and forth.
It's just not a car dealer, whatever. Everything in life is like that at home and everywhere is, like any situation where you can react like differently, just stop the thing. Because the second way you action is going to show how you are. You action just going to show that.
Yeah.
To you, to the rest of the people, and it's how you're gonna feel after that.
Yeah.
Because it can be like, what should I do? Why should I say that? Why? It's just too late. It's like shooting an arrow. As you do that, it's late.
You can't
stop
bring it back.
that. You can't stop that.
Yeah.
Especially at home with your wife, when you react, to something, just stop. Think about it.
Yeah.
And this is the time we don't want to take.
Right.
Just the reaction is what to do right there. And then after that, it's just terrible. You can't fix anything.
Yeah.
You can't fix anything after that. It will take longer, like years, something like that.
Yeah. I like what you're saying. What you said made me think of another thing. Let's say you get a call from the school and you find out that your teenage son has slept school. So you might be pissed and be like, why did you sleep school? And they might be all quiet, not willing to tell you. But after you dig deep, and so you're screaming and yelling at them, don't you understand how lucky you are? I wasn't even able to go to school. And then it finally comes out that they were getting bullied, and some kids were beating them up or something, and so they ran home. And instead of being supportive to them, you're grinding over them. And so if we gather more facts, if we find out more about the situation, it can totally change the way we feel about it, right?
Well, and so maybe sometimes Tom can sell a car to a customer I was working with, and I can just feel like, oh, Tom knew that was my customer. He disrespected me. He doesn't care. He didn't even give me the courtesy of a call or a text. What a jerk. But I wasn't there. I don't know. Maybe I'm jumping to a conclusion. Maybe he didn't even know. Or, I don't know. There can be a lot more to the story than meets the eye. Like you're saying, the kid slept in school.
Yeah. So find out the rest of the facts. That's something that I read in a book years ago, The Toyota Way. Go and find out for yourself.
See for yourself.
See for yourself. Go find out all the facts before you jump to a conclusion. What about walking in people's shoes? How could that change the way that we have a perspective? Tell me about how could it change?
Because sometimes, as human beings, if you like to do very well, to see someone struggling, well, it's because it's his fault. He doesn't want to change. He doesn't want to do anything about it. But we don't know exactly what's behind, what's going on behind it, or what's his given to children. And that's why he's working his out.
Steve had a good one. You might share the one about your dad?
With the fast food.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, so these are like we said, you can apply a whole bunch of different strategies to trying to reframe how you view any situation. But my dad, ever since I can remember, has, he'll go through a fast food place, and go through the drive-through, order his food. In my opinion, he's ridiculous. So he'll say like, oh, I'd like half a cup, I'd only like half a cup of ice, I'd like a hamburger with no pickles, no mayonnaise, and 2 straws. Like an order that to me just doesn't seem easy. Then, when he gets his bag and he goes through it, and he opens up his sandwich and they did put pickles on it, or they put a full cup of ice instead of a half cup of ice, he's all bent out of shape. You know, how hard is it? Why can't they just get it right? Grumble, 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 complain, complain, complain. He feels disappointed, upset, feels bad inside, takes a little while for it to wear off. I can remember this my whole life. The idea Clinton I had as we were talking through these different strategies, there's a lot of strategies, but a strategy for him could be go work at McDonald's or Arby's or whatever for 2 weeks. You spend 2 weeks in there and you see the pressure and the amount of orders and the speed and all the variables that go into that, you'd probably just be glad you got some food. You're nodding because you've been there.
That's true, because that happened to me. Some people come back and complain about they got the root beer instead of I don't know, a Coke or something, and like, what a big deal, it's just a soda. So then one day, my daughter picked me up from the hospital, because I was sick, so she's like, I'm gonna grab something to eat. Like, sure. So she decided to go outside and get something. When she came back, like, I think you should go. So when I tasted it, was like a cherry Coke or something like that. Like, I didn't like it. She's like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get it. I don't know, it's okay, just leave it like that. We know how it is, and we know if they rush hour, and we know under what pressure those people are. So just leave it like that. And some people even, some are very nice, some of them just open the soda and throw it against you.
No.
And it was some mean people, and yeah, I know like we have complained if they don't get the right food, right? But there's ways to say it. And they don't even know how hard it is to work and getting the orders out, and that's true. And I know that frustration, I have been on both sides,
Right.
so I,
But when you were on the side of getting the wrong thing, even though you didn't love it, you had empathy
yes,
because you walked in those shoes.
yes.
So walking in someone's shoes can be a very effective strategy.
So I can throw my drink into his face.
You didn't know that was an option?
It doesn't get like a shit like my friend. It was her dad, and her dad had out the nachos without, it was something wrong with them, and the customer opened them and just threw them against me. So she just, the reaction, it was her dad. So she grabbed a cup and grabbed the soda and just threw it against the customer. And just go, nobody's gonna treat my dad like that. So she was fired, of course, but she like, and she's like, whoa.
So her and her dad were both working together.
Yes.
Wow, that's sad.
And that was
Well, in a minute, we'll talk about another strategy of perspective, which is kind of like, hey, there's a lot of worse things in life than getting on my soda. Sorry, that's all right. I think I actually got this from Clint quite a while back, and I'll share a quick example. My oldest son, Tyler, is pretty rigid with eating. He doesn't like, he's kind of like me, he doesn't like to eat, he has to force himself to eat. And every now and then, if I'm out with him, we're going to get something to eat, he only wants Panda Express. And so I've been trying to help him understand, hey, there's more in life than Panda Express, and you need to be a little more flexible. So I couldn't get him to cooperate. I actually had taken him to 2 Panda Expresses. One had a super long line, and then we went to the mall right here, the University Town Center Mall, or the Provo Town Center Mall, and they had just closed. Right when we walked out, they were just taking away the food. So I said, I tried twice, you're going to need to choose something else. He couldn't get it through his head. And this analogy that we're going to share right now came to my mind that I think Clinton told me a while back about 2 different trees. So this tree right here, if the wind blew strong, what do you guys expect would happen if there was some resistance? Something didn't go good for this tree, what would happen to the branches? Strong wind blew in.
Break.
They're likely to break, maybe not the big ones at the bottom, but some of the smaller ones, they're brittle, they're rigid, they're dry, they're probably going to break. So keep that image for a minute, and then let's look at this one. So I talked with Tyler about, hey, I want you to imagine you're a tree. And I talked about the rigid, dry tree, and I talked about a supple, flexible sapling tree that could withstand really strong wind, but it wouldn't break. It would just kind of bend, it wouldn't stress it out too much, it would just go with the flow and cope with the situation. And I said, right now, as they cope with the situation, Panda Express, not gonna happen. Here's some other options that are on the food court. That actually worked for him. He thought for a minute and he settled down, he said, Dad, I think we could go here. And we went and we had a meal. So if we get trapped into this rigid form of thinking, and it happens to every single one of us, I catch myself in it too. Here in the shop, we'll be talking through stuff with Lenny or Clint, and I'll dig my heels in a little bit, and I'll catch myself. And I'm being rigid, and I'm feeling trapped. There's a lot more options. We can think outside the box. And I'll try, I put this in my head, a flexible tree, and I try to go with that. And it helps me see it different. And all of a sudden, I feel way less anxiety. I feel more open-minded. We talk through things, we figure out a better solution. So, kind of that flexible brings freedom, rigid makes you feel trapped. So that's an image that can help.
Does anyone ever have had this happen to them? Have a story that relate? Where you were like rigid thinking on something and it caused a bunch of grief?
Well, I used to work at the fast food restaurant, and it was not my favorite place to work, but that's the only one that I have. So I have to just go with the flow. So just make it fun and try to do the best and every day. And once it was funny because I also was laughing, you know. And Steve, when they came to the drive-thru, and he asked me, why are you always so happy?
I remember that. That's a long time ago.
And I just look at him and just kind of change everything. And I feel like, oh, you're faking it. And then I laugh like for real. And then my friends like, why she asked you? And I told them and they were laughing like, but you're trying to just, you know, go with the flow and make fun and just, yeah.
Those are Del Taco. Right?
Yeah.
Some personality types have the propensity to be very rigid and black and white. And, you know, like Steve's dad is for sure one of those. You know, just very rigid thinking. You know, some people are a lot more flexible. When you're not the kind of flexible person, it takes a lot of effort to try to be this sap. A word that I've used and that I've heard you know, psychologists use is reframing. Have you guys ever heard that word used? Reframing. So this book, the lady talks about using different lenses to look at things. So, like, you have sunglasses right there. When you put those on, JD, what does the room look like?
Less cool.
What's that?
Less cool.
Yeah, less cool. I mean, it kind of just, I mean, you guys have all worn sunglasses, it kind of darkens it, makes it look different. What if we put on sunglasses that were pink? If we were wearing Elton John's sunglasses, what would the world look like for us? Make a difference, right? Right, the rose tree. Right, exactly. So the example that the lady uses in this book is use different lenses to look at things a different way. So if we look at it from a lens and this we see the things from a distance, from a different perspective, you know, like remember the picture of the car, we look at it from one side and then look at it from the other. That changes the way that we feel about the car. One side looks like, oh, this is a great truck. I'm glad we have this front here. The other side would be like, oh, this is horrible. So reframing, you know, a frame is like kind of the way that you picture something. And so you can just imagine like if you're going to take a picture and you're looking at it this way, well, if you look at it from a different angle, everything looks totally different.
Or the rock with it too.
So the rock that's upside down, all we do is flip the picture upside down, and now it suddenly makes sense in our mind. So reframe. And then I guess this comes back to the title of this book. When Jenny saw this on the counter, she's like, this already helped me. Just reading the title of that and changing nothing changes everything. Because oftentimes there are circumstances in life that we can't change. We can't change the public's perception of coronavirus right now. And that's just kind of something that's got out of control and it's become kind of a mania in my opinion. So we can't change that. But if we change the way that we look at it, yeah. If we change the way that we look at it, if we reframe, if we change our angle, if we start walking in their shoes, it can change the way that we feel about it.
These are all just kind of different ways of saying similar things, but they're sayings that are part of our everyday vocabulary. You know, we've all heard things like open your mind. So, you know, this is just the language that I found with the key. Open your mind to be different. I feel like just recognizing that that is a possibility in our lives already gives us a big advantage. Just if I just recognize, well, I can think about this different, and I will feel different about it. It's already big. So this is just kind of a reminder that we have the key to our own mind. I don't have the key to Clint's brain, or Ricky's, or Boreas. They each have their own key. Obviously, we can influence each other, but that's only influence. The real thing is what we choose for ourselves. It's my brain. I'm the only one with the key.
In Spanish, there's a saying that you guys know, cada cabeza es un mundo. Every world is a head. And so each person's head is kind of their own world, their own perspective. They can have the same experience, go through the same exact thing, and see it and represent it totally different.
This is another strategy that I use a lot. So if I start feeling really frustrated or upset about a situation and I'm feeling trapped, basically, you know, that anxiety, you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but I found it effective to stop and just settle myself, take a little bit of a break from it, and then ask myself, what's the worst thing that can happen? And then I'll stop and I'll say, well, this. And you know, we can think of it. We'll go through some real life examples about the car business in a minute. We can try this. And then I'll say, okay, and if that happened, then what? And I'll say, well, just in my own internal dialogue, and I'll say, well, then this, and then this. And as I go through that, I quickly start to realize that what felt like such a terrible big problem actually wasn't that big of a deal. And even if the worst case happened, which usually isn't what happens, you know, because when we're in those moments, we always just think of the very worst thing. But even the very worst thing that could happen, I can quickly reason through in my head and realize, okay, I wouldn't be dead, or I wouldn't be this, or I wouldn't be that. And most of the things I quickly realize are smaller than they felt. They felt really big, but as I realized, what's the worst thing that could happen? Okay, I guess I could actually do it. It did happen. And it won't go that way anyway. So it's a strategy.
This is one that I just put in really quick, time, letting time pass. So sometimes when you're in the middle of a problem, when you're really feeling mad or angry about something, and James just said this a few minutes ago, just let some time pass. Step away from the problem, just let some distance. You know, that's why sometimes people say when you sleep on it, just let some time pass.
Ricky, you recognize it, little Tom Boy. So this is just a way of illustrating the same idea we're talking about. Maybe stepping back, getting a broader view, getting a bigger picture. So, same building. You guys can still see it? It's right there. I've had some of my most insightful moments on planes. I don't know why, just being up above the earth, I can't get a better perspective. Can't even find it anymore. A little bigger picture, a little more distance, a little more perspective. You start to see where things fit together actually from a life perspective, in a more global sense. And maybe that problem of a customer on the lot who is being way too picky about a car feels a little less significant in the big scheme of things.
Is anything we're saying making sense? It's looking like we're not getting there. What do you guys think?
Like, does it resonate or not really? It won't hurt our feelings if it doesn't. It's a concept we've had time and we can play with, you know, for a long time.
As a psychologist, he's a leadership consultant for 40 years. I've heard of all this stuff.
See, you've heard a lot of it.
So I mean, I think I'm naturally hardwired this way. From time to time, I get away from it, but we all do. Which is how I am.
Has any of the stuff that your dad has taught you or you've been exposed to, have you found it really helpful for you?
Sure. You were just talking about like the reframing of problems. A lot of times we build these problems up in our mind, and all it takes is trying to explain it to someone to realize how stupid it sounds.
Oh, so that could be another strategy, talk it through with somebody.
So we've all had those problems, and you think that the world's coming down, and then all of a sudden you try to tell someone, you're like, Hey, that doesn't make sound.
It's
Your
just-
mind
you hear
is-
yourself.
yeah. And then the other thing my dad would always teach me was that you need time to think. He said people will, like, especially in the corporate setting, if you're in your office not doing anything, people assume that you're just being lazy. He's like, you need time every day to gather your thoughts and organize them and understand what your purpose is. And so he says, that one of the most powerful things we can do is actually give ourselves time every single day to think.
Just have it scheduled, this is my.
Yeah, and it's quiet time.
Quiet time.
You just kind of let your mind go, and then you document your thoughts, and then put action items together.
That's good. So quiet time's not just when you want your case to be going for a second.
I like that one, we'll talk it through with someone else.
Yeah, I like both of yours.
Who else? Les?
Well, just remind me when you were talking about time, when I was like 13 years old, got some issue with friends, and I felt at that time like it was like a huge problem. And my dad just kind of said, okay, like, after some time, you will figure out that that's nothing. That's really nothing. And then probably the next couple of years, you're gonna have some problem that you figure out that it's huge. And then, later on, you figure out that that's nothing. So, and that's what happened. And then one day, my dad was pretty upset, the company just closed at that time. And he was like, I don't know what to do. He's like, don't worry, later on you'll figure out that that's nothing. And he looked at me and just laughed.
Because he knew you were.
Yeah.
That's good.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the perspective of time.
Change it.
And like Tom said, we sometimes all forget to get away from it. For that moment, your dad forgot the same lesson he had taught you. But you were able to help him.
What else? What else do you guys think? Rafa, what do you think?
Yeah, sometimes we got also like that. Sometimes, usually when we get a bad month or this week is too slow, even like everyone, like probably salesman people do not be stressful for people doing that sales and thinking about the payment, the paycheck, Yeah, we have time, say, this week probably be so, but only by saying myself, we gotta get probably in 10 months, we have 2 or 3 months back, but like, we have to wait, but with a negative tax, probably we're gonna go down, but, we have to wait. Be more, I might be positive to, time change.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That's one of the things that's on here. And it's easy for us to happen in this industry, right? Like we worry about not selling enough cars and not making enough money. That's a very, very, very common one, right? So we kind of all fall into the games. So what are some strategies that you guys have come up with over the years to reframe and be able to cope with that? Because not everyone can work on commission. Most personality types need to know how much they're going to make in a month, right? So all of us live in a very uncertain world compared to many people. What strategies have you guys come up with over the years about how to cope with the uncertainty of earnings?
Yeah, we always say that, we try to attract customers, we go as a family, so to bring, when they trust in you, they're gonna, for long years, gonna be customer. That's just, we always do this, thinking about, I saw the first customer, so it's like a best friend. They keep this customer forever. This customer is gonna be more people, bring more customers to you every month,
Yeah. So you're saying make a customer for life, and then that's going to help you down the road. Yeah. Okay.
Does that make it, I love what you're saying, does that make it easier? Let's say that I'm your customer, it's the first time that you're selling me a car. So I'm not a customer for life yet, it's the first time we meet. and let's say that I'm being a little bit difficult and a little bit hard for you, does it make it easier for you to deal with me being a stubborn customer if you view me as someone that, hey, this could be a customer for life. I could sell this guy 5 cars and he could send me referrals. Does it help you to deal with my complaints?
Yeah, I saw a car to Grace bring it like all the family, you know. It was 20 years ago probably, you know.
So that's how you dealt with it?
Yeah.
That's good.
It's so got to work with.
That's been for 20 years old, 20 years old, it's coming back again with kids, you know.
Yeah.
friends.
No, but I like that. If I'm dealing with somebody that's hard to work with, and I just view them as, this person's here to ruin my afternoon and make me go home in a bad mood, I'm not gonna put up with them very well. But if I view them the way you're talking about, I'm probably gonna cope with it pretty easy. So I like that.
One strategy, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, so what I'm seeing lately, anybody can make a happy customer, right, buying something. It doesn't mean it's gonna come back. But if you feel the needs of the customer, you're always gonna come back when you know because that's how it feels. I can go to a restaurant, yeah, I'm happy about the food, but it's not what I feel. I'm just never gonna come back again.
Yeah, yeah. One of the strategies that I've used over, well, a couple different ones to cope with the money part of things is kind of look at, like a 1-year snapshot, because in the car business, there's always ups and downs. I try not to let myself think about the short term. So if I say in a year, I'm gonna earn about this much money, it helps me not worry so much about today. I know that it's crappy. And, I just know history says that over time it's gonna be better. And then the other thing that I use is, if I was working at a regular job and I made X amount of dollars per hour, let's say it's 10 or 12 or 15 or something like that, and then do the math formula and see how much you would make working full-time, like these guys that work here in the shop for us, let's just say. What do their paychecks look like? How much do they make? And then when you compare that to a lot of times how much salespeople make, and it can make you feel extremely blessed. At least that's a strategy that I've personally used.
So what I was gonna say is understanding how, and have gratitude for it, understand how blessed we truly are, what we do have. Understand that even if things fell apart with Automax or our job tomorrow, and our families are still healthy, kids still have us and then being flexible like that tree to understand that, through this, we had really good months and you kind of have that rainy day fund and it's preparation, but truly understanding and recognizing that just because work might not be going well doesn't mean that our lives are falling apart, right? And that's the gratitude part of it, of saying, I'm blessed, I'm happy, my family is healthy, I have a home, I have a little bit of savings, we'll figure there's more jobs out there.
Yeah, even if one section of life is not ideal, put it out.
Yeah, that was another strategy that I just wrote down. So have gratitude, focus on blessings, focus on the good instead of bad.
It's hard. I moved from Peru over 20 years, more than 20 years ago. And I remember this because I moved with nothing in my pocket, just enough money for a week and rent. And I applied for a job. I started a food business as a dishwasher.
Golden Corral, right?
Golden Corral, yeah. Survivor from Golden Corral. I worked my way to what I want in life. Started working with auto sales and to become a salesman. I passed for a lot of things, but what I want to say is in 2008, it was like 3 years on my own. The crisis 2008 took me out of business completely. I was good, and then I basically, to be good with the parents, I sold I owe cars and house and everything. I lose everything.
And your personal things.
Everything. And my wife was crying, and she said, what am I going to do? I say, I moved from Peru for nothing, with nothing on my back. But lose everything. What did I have? Nothing. So what did I lose? Nothing. So I started, don't worry about it. I can find another job, I can find 2 jobs. Don't worry, it's just no panic, we can find things. You know, so the company also is like new things, new change, but it's a time to look for how we're gonna do this, how to survive, how can make more sales, how I can do my best. And this is how those situations help me to find out my best of me, like to work more hours, to think about, and as Tom says, to be thankful about you good, you healthy, and the family is good, and you have the drive, like the power to provide for your family. That make you success. I mean, it's long, it takes a long time, but it's hours away. I think the point of today is hours away. It's a different point how to approach things without crying, stay there and without doing nothing, you know. I passed through those things and I learned and pass through those things is what I be thankful because it's how I learn.
It's how you become who you become.
It takes time, but and then when I go back, I said, just imagine if I didn't do anything when it stopped. This is how things that happen. Is you think that I didn't stop, you know? You think that I have my kids to, and like, see them and say, I can do it for you. It's just, don't worry about it, you know? And I tried to just look after that and for a while, you know, but I'm back again to track when you have that and in you know. It's hard, but everything can be possible.
But there's always a way.
It's always a way.
Yeah.
Always a way.
Yeah. What else? Eric? What do you think?
I just, whenever I'm in a bad situation, I went to Hawaii last summer and that's awful. It gets worse.
This doesn't sound like a bad story.
I know, but I got a Jeep and the first day I get the Jeep, like I'm driving, yeah, it's a rental Jeep and I'm driving like an hour to the beach because I was meeting up some people there. And the first beach I go to, we go out, get in the water, and then we come back and I'm broken. And I just go on my back.
It broke the window out of the
Yeah,
Jeep.
it broke the window. And I remember having like a weird feeling driving the Jeep here because it was like unstable and you get a drive car shit all the time, you know. And so that happens and then I'm just like, well, I'm pretty bummed out the whole way back. I have to go back to the car, back to an hour back, staying home all my day. And then they give me another Jeep. And then I went to the Jeep, I felt super comfortable. I'm just like, man, I was not supposed to be driving another Jeep. So right away I was like, something worse could have happened with that Jeep. Something worse with my life. So that's,
So you almost felt like getting broke into might have been a blessing. Your backpack and which had a laptop got stolen, but it's that you felt like maybe that got you into a Jeep that was stable, right?
there's something worse could have happened. I think that was true.
So maybe the lug nuts were loose or something, and a tire could have come off and it could have crashed, and then instead of worrying about your backpack, you're like, I'm in a hospital or I'm dead. Okay, there's a good reframe. Yeah.
Anytime you need to fill glass, I'll sit or something.
That's so kind.
Such a friend.
Break your windows, whatever.
Yeah. What else? What else will make you guys think of? Ricky?
I went back to that recognized original thinking thing. I grew up small family. I got married, my wife's big family. So I'm really used to being like by myself, real isolated. We bought a house, built our house in Springville. First thing I realized, like, oh, I'm moving in. And I'm like, whoa, wait, what? No, you're not moving in. This is my house. Like, this is ours, you know? And he's like, well, no, I don't have a place to live. And my wife's like, well, we have to help him. And I'm like, no. Like, this is our house. We're like, starting. Like, we're not helping him, you know? Like, and so she like sat back, she was pissed at me that I wasn't willing to help. But I'm like, this is, you know, our beginning, this is our life, it's our new house, we have a newborn baby. Like, you don't even there. Well, she ended up winning, you know.
I know.
As every wife does.
Yeah, I know how that goes.
So he ended up living with us for like a year and a half. And then his girlfriend moved in and like all these things. And just like, you know, and I was being that bridge, like, hey, time to go, we've helped him. But over time, like, I think about it, I'm like, it really did help us too, because of the income that was coming in, like, it was a benefit. There was hard times.
There were challenges.
Yeah, there's challenges and stuff, and we needed babysitters, your kids got sick, there was things like that. So being that rigid thinking, probably if we would not let him move in, we could have been in a worse spot. Like we needed to leave or have someone watch the kids, or we didn't have those opportunities with that.
That perspective is hindsight.
Yeah, no, and then her sister moved in, and then they just kept going.
And back to my original point, none of this is like saying one way is right or wrong, way to helping people move in, whatever. It's just whatever perspective helps us feel better, that's the right thing, way to look at it. You guys have some awesome stories.
Katie, you ever heard? What's that? You got anything you think of? That relates?
Could be a personal thing in the past or anything that has helped you deal with these. He's trying not to affect us.
Yeah.
I think Karen got me sick.
He's really Corona.
No, listen. Before what I had,
When you spit in my mouth 2 weeks ago.
listen, that was different. I'm sick now. The more the sick, like, it was only after we talked to you got me sick.
Wow.
You was you give a piece.
So you can call it this one. I call it something else.
Okay, so as we wrap it up, where this can apply to every area of our life. This is a very broad thing, but an extraordinarily powerful principle if we can start to internalize it and realize how much it can change our life. It can just change everything. But for here and today, how we view the customers, how we view our pay and the way that we get paid.
And can I clarify on the new
Yeah.
customers? I mean, in the new car business where I started, it was view the customers like this. They're a credit rat, they're a roach, they're a bandit, they're a stroker. All those things were kind of ingrained in us, and that's how we view the customer. And all those things, honestly, were negative. And unlike your example of viewing the customer in a much broader way, caused me to oftentimes have a negative view of the customer, which was not effective. That's what it means by having the customers.
Yeah. We didn't get a chance to talk about this, but working on Saturdays and holidays, is there a different way that we can look at that? I always used to look at it because I worked Saturdays for almost my whole career. But I looked at it as a positive. Hey, I get a day off during the week, and everywhere that I go is not crowded. You go place on the weekend, it's just a madhouse, it's a disaster. But you go during the weekend, people with bad credit, people that are buried in their trade-in, the way that we see those situations, the way that we reframe those can make a difference. The pay plan, that's something we're dealing with in our company right now. The way that we look at that can definitely change the way that we feel every day and change our behavior and our attitude. And then the customers, when we were over at Springville, the other day a lady walked in, we had 2 in a row walk in complaints, just literally within like 5
Walk through the door, we're excited as a customer, and it's somebody who had bought a car and had a concern.
Yeah. So we're trying to have like this deep conversation with JD and JD Marcos, and we're getting interrupted by these things. So I was feeling kind of like, this is annoying. I was annoyed, and it's this maybe 60-year-old woman. My radio doesn't work. So in my mind that means like a blown fuse or something's going on. So my first inclination was I was upset and frustrated and angry. But we just barely had the sales meeting last week where we talked about the black BMW, the sunroof, where the customers were saying, hey, they wouldn't even go out and look at it. So I thought of that. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to walk out with this lady and see what her problem is. So I walk out. Turns out that she had plugged an aux cord into her phone to charge her phone up. And so then I just put in aux in. And
To switch the input.
Yeah, so change the input. So all I needed to do was push band to turn on the FM radio, and it worked again. So it's as simple as walking out and looking at what her concern was, and then pushing one button, and I solved the problem. So reframing, now it doesn't always go that way. If it didn't go that way, that's another thing we have to deal with. But reframing just the way that we feel about things can change everything in our life. Everything with our work, with our families, with ourselves, the way that we look at ourselves. This concept can change everything. So, all right, that's it. Let's grab them swords.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Next week is our last one. We're going to do a summary of everything that we've done. And
Well, not our last meeting forever, we'll switch to once a month.
not even feeling any better? Is it due to significant antibiotics?
Literally simple.
I bet that almost goes like yeah. 3 or 4 hours, that's probably it.
Everybody should go over it.
I mean, background
It's just an old lemon, right? So,
Did you know?
doesn't seem like it's really as long as it's bad though.
40 for the street.
All right, you guys ready? Good place. Okay, you guys ready? Okay, here we go. We are motivated, skilled, united. One more time, Dave. We are motivated, skilled, united. Right, we can do this.
And sales are going up every month.
Yeah,
We're on track for a really good March. So.
it'll be interesting to see what happens with the coronavirus.
Yeah, the coronavirus.
I don't think the panic will last that long. But definitely a thing for a minute.
That's why you get to make money selling this video every month.
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah. Might as well.
Starting getting paid for it.
Yeah.
Well, especially like when nothing's bad. You know, they're carefully numbering the deaths with like 40 deaths in a country of 300 million. Like how many people died?
Well, 63,000 people died.
It'll make sense. Right, exactly.
What they're telling you, the average less. Like that's a real 80 years old. And so unless you're elderly, diabetic, HIV, or yeah, so diabetic. If you're a smoker, elderly, have diabetes, but like, are we really worried about confidential or legal narratives like that? Only helped me like 3 days.
She said it was just like totally chaos.
My sister-in-law took a video of all the back, not all
I think it would.